My name is Matt Stinchcomb, and I'm the executive director of Etsy.org. I'll tell you a little bit about what Etsy.org does. And I'm really grateful to be here in this beautiful space, very honored to be invited by Columbia, and yeah, really just thankful for everything I heard today, so thanks a lot. I'm going to talk a little bit about business. I guess that's the right topic to be talking about here. And I was thinking about, we have 10 minutes, so, where do we want to focus? And I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the essence of business, the how, and probably more importantly, the why we do business. And thinking about the opportunity we have as entrepreneurs, or the opportunities that we have. As I mentioned, I have no formal training in business, so I feel free to disagree with everything I say. Everything I learned from reading books. Some of them were business books, and those usually made me feel a little bit sick. Or wonder where, did they drop the chapter on ethics from this book? It's kind of the benefit of not knowing much about business was you don't have to do it the same way as everyone else does it. I read a lot of books on Buddhism and permaculture and community organizing, which are really helpful in business. But mostly I just learned about business by doing business. I moved to New York City from Oberlin, Ohio. I'm from DC, but I went to college at Oberlin. Studied art history and thought I was going to be a filmmaker here. My first day in New York, literally my first day in New York, I got a job on the internet. I think I'd been online one time. And it was like, hey, my friend has a website. I'm like, oh, what's that? Like, okay, let's do it. So, kind of stumbled into that world. This was the 90s, so, it's not that crazy. Anyways, so I worked at a couple startups there and, learned a lot. Then I went on and, left that business to start a band. I was always a musician, and so for the next 7 years, I was part of what I like to call a semi-moderately successful rock band. I don't know if that's a thing, but that's what it was. It was enough for us to survive for about 5 years just doing it full time. They went on for another 5 years after I left, but I made a living doing it, and when you're running a small creative enterprise like that, you're doing everything, marketing, customer support. There's lots of, intra-band, HR issues you have to think about. So I did that. Then I had another semi-moderately successful business as a printer, as a screen printer, actually, that kind of evolved out of the band. And then for the last 10 years, I've been at Etsy.com. Where I started. My roommate had the idea, and I was the first employee, and we did it out of our apartment at first, and now I stayed with the company all the way till 700 employees, and we were public. So I left the company a few months ago to start Etsy.org. And so, that's really where I got my business education at Etsy. Everybody there, nobody there in the beginning had a business background, so we were all learning by doing, and usually in very painful ways. And there's a lot of things I wish I'd known then that I now know. So, over the course of those 10 years at Etsy, I did lots of different things. I started out as the marketing person, which was really funny because I found advertising to be kind of morally reprehensible on some level. It's like, oh, yeah, I'll be the marketing guy. That's great. I don't feel that way now, but sorry, I'm digressing. So one thing that I did learn, so I did that. I ran our international business. I ran what we called communications. For the last few years, I was working on what we called values and impact. So it was all about how do we maximize the impact that we can have as an enterprise. And that's different from CSR as it's often practiced, which is okay, we've got our business here, and then we give some money to charity and we clean up parks and all of that. And that's great, but I think the businesses today we saw is that business is the engine for impact in the world, not something you do with the profits you make doing something that's actually destructive for the world. So over the last 10 years, I've become very convinced that business is actually the most powerful tool for shaping communities. The ability to move with great speed. You don't need, it's not caught in political gridlock. And it can be very transformative business. We're seeing that on a very personal level, like with Dion, and then at much greater levels too. But probably not needing to be repeated, but the way that business can transform a community can also be very destructive, right? Mountaintop removal or whatever it may be, Volkswagen. I would say that personally, we got that car specifically because we were like, we want the most fuel-efficient, lowest emitting car, and my wife, who's German, is just like, she's so mad. I'm mad too. Anyways, but it is, the whole point is that there's still a lot of business that's being practiced in ways that are really not good for people on the planet. And I started thinking about business along kind of spectrum, right? And on one end of the spectrum, you have degenerative, right? And I should say that it's not business is degenerative. Business is a tool. It's how that tool is implemented. So people can implement business in ways that are truly degenerative, and then you kind of move further down the spectrum, and you have what I call less bad. And I think that's where a lot of businesses are today, or where they become complacent. Obviously, none of the people here today, but 30% less packaging. Like, not asking the question, like, well, maybe there's 30% less packaging, but do we actually need that product? Is it actually creating other benefit in the world? And I found that more and more we're beginning to kind of optimize for a world that's the one that we want to avoid rather than the one that we really want to have. And so I started continuing down the spectrum. You have sustainable, right? Like kind of neutral, leave no trace. So that's better than less bad, but I don't think that's what we should be aspiring to either, right? I don't think we should aim to sustain what we've created right now. We have more ecological degradation. We have growing carbon emissions every year. We have more wealth inequality, more depression, more suicide, all of these things. Like, that's a problem. And I think these are actually all, climate change, all of these things are side effects of the way that business is practiced sometimes. So I don't think we should aspire to sustain what we've built right now. I mean, it'll be great if we can sustain, so we can survive, but I think we should set our sights a little higher when it comes to business. So I've been thinking a lot about this idea of regenerative entrepreneurship. So how do you actually build businesses that aren't just avoiding the worst of what we can do, but actually trying to improve them? Not just leaving no trace, but actually leaving a very positive trace. And so when I think about regenerative, like, yes, okay, it's net positive in terms of impact, but I think of it as something a little bit deeper. And to me, a regenerative enterprise is one that takes a view of the world as interconnected and interdependent. So it's not just like we live in a complex, interconnected world, as we do, but actually we live in a complex, interconnected, interdependent world, meaning the success of that homeless person is tied to my success. The success of the planet is tied to my success. So if you actually see yourself as interdependent, or your relationship with the world is interdependent, then you never optimize for your own well-being at the expense of any other stakeholder in this complicated system. And so to do that, it really takes getting to know all of the people and places that your business touches. And I think that also includes you, yourself. Because if you yourself are part of an interdependent, interconnected system, I'm sorry, did you just hold up the sign that I missed? Sorry. Okay, thanks. Then, if you're not doing something that's actually, if you're hurting yourself with your business, you're actually kind of hurting the whole system too. So how are you doing business in a way that's also regenerative to you? That's also, not just being less bad for you, but actually net positive for you. And that's why I feel like we need to bring, I'm not afraid to say more spirituality to business, more looking within, more personal transformation, more self-inquiry, a deeper understanding of your values, a deeper understanding or the cultivation of greater capacity for more empathy with people. And these are the things that I found have actually been very useful for me, a deeper exploration of the role that fear, the role that doubt, the role that ego play. Sorry, I can't read that. Does that say 0 minutes? actually wrap it up, all right? The role that all of these things play in keeping me from doing business in ways that are truly regenerative. So with Etsy.org, we're developing a new kind of business education that brings that kind of self-inquiry, that deeper understanding of the social, economic, and ecological systems of the world, and then equips entrepreneurs with the skills to actually do business in ways that regenerate the local communities where they're based. So our first cohort of participants has been selected. First class is next Friday, so this is happening. You can go check out Etsy.org for more information about that. I guess since I have 0 minutes, I just wanted to close with a couple thoughts for all of the entrepreneurs out there. The first would be maybe some questions to ask, I guess. In what ways is your business actually regenerative? In what ways is it just less bad? Do people really need the product or service that you're offering? And that's kind of different from want. I think that's an important question to ask oneself. Another one would be, what really makes you happy, like truly makes you happy, and does your business provide that for you? And the last thing I'll say, I guess, isn't really a question as much as maybe something to hold. When you think about success, make sure that you're exploring the difference between big and great. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks.